Good evening, everybody. It's your girl Tiffany. I'm back with another SmutNut review, and like I said, these are back-to-back videos. Hopefully, you guys will appreciate them. I'm trying to catch up with the weeks that I have been missing. So I'm going to jump right into the second review or the following review that I'm going to do, and this one is Ours to Love. So this is book 7 in the Wicked Ties and the Wicked Lovers series by Shayla Black, of course. Ours to Love by Miss Shayla Black. If you have not been keeping up with me and my reviews in this series, then you're doing yourself a vast disservice. So we'll jump right into what this book is about. So, this book is actually a menage series. And I know I said that the last book was one of my favorites, but this is also one of my favorites. So in this entire series, I have 3 favorites, and I cannot pick which one I love more. I like Delicious, that's the story of Alyssa and Luke. I love Mine to Hold, the story of Tyler and Delaney. And now we have London, Javier, and Xander. So to tie in these 3 characters, that's London, Javier, and Xander. So London is the young lady in the book. Javier and Xander are the gentlemen in the book. And we'll use that term loosely, gentlemen, because they're not exactly gentlemen. So to tie them into the other characters, so you know how they play into one to the other. London is Alyssa from Delicious with Luke, is Alyssa's cousin. And Javier and Xander, they tie into this book because Xander has actually been in 2 of the previous books in a supporting role. Xander knows Logan. Now you guys remember Logan and Tara. They had their whole situation with their trust, and they had the FBI situation. They had to go and help out there. So Logan is actually really best friends with Xander. And Xander is a notorious playboy. He's a billionaire and he's a playboy. He's got more money than he knows what to do and absolutely no responsibility. And the reason why he has absolutely no responsibility is because he has big brother Javier to look after everything. Javier is older and he has been groomed by their father and their family to have all the responsibility, while Xander basically grew up and turned into a useless playboy. He doesn't have a real job, and he collects money based on their family's interests. He doesn't have a say in the company, and not because he's not intelligent. Don't get me wrong, Xander is extremely intelligent, and he's gone to school, he's got several degrees. He just doesn't have use for him, and it's because his brother's kind of a control freak. So we pick up where Javier is going through a really hard time. His wife has been murdered, and they have no idea why or by who, but she's dead. And he is kind of spiraling out. The company is suffering. Xander is trying to get him to rein it in, and he feels like maybe if I teach him some of the tricks that I know as a dominant, then he can have some semblance of grounding. He can feel tethered to something and find his way back. Because right now, the only thing that Javier feels tethered to is a bottle of vodka. He is downing bottles and bottles every day. And he's going to drink himself to death. Which is odd, because you would think that a man that feels like that must have really loved his wife. He must have really felt connected to her. And he's floating adrift with her gone. That's not the case. Javier didn't love his wife. He felt no love. I wouldn't even say he was friendly towards her, but he felt honor bound to be with her. He never cheated on her, and he kept his vows. So I guess he's feeling kind of guilty because he didn't want her, and whatever his indifference played, she's now dead. So he feels responsible. And he blames Xander because he asked Xander for a very odd request. As a husband, he asked his own brother to take his wife in hand and make her his submissive. And Xander refused, number 1, because he despised his brother's wife. And number 2, because he said, look, she wasn't submissive, and there was no way to make her submissive. No matter how much you thought that me taking her in hand and trying to train her and bring her to heel would have worked, it wouldn't have. And on top of that, you basically wanted me to do all the work with none of the perks because you wanted me to be her dominant without having sex with her, which is insane. And not to say it's insane, but that's just not how he got down. He's like, I couldn't stand her. She couldn't stand me. She would have never submitted to me. And then I would have had to do all that work and got no perks out of it because I wasn't allowed to touch her sexually. So it would have really been just pointless. But Javier doesn't understand that, or he doesn't believe that. So they're kind of at odds, and he keeps pushing his brother out of his life. And Xander takes extreme measures. What he does is he drugs Javier, and he takes him away. And he's like, look, I'm going to take you to a small town with small town people where you can't get any trouble. There is no liquor. There is nothing like that. We are just here for you to work and clean yourself up and get our company back on track. And in doing that, this is where they both meet London at very separate times. So Javier stumbles into town. He's drunk, he's inebriated, and he needs help getting in and out of bed. And London, being a very sweet girl, helps him. And he meets her, and he has a very drunken experience with her. Not that they have sex or anything, but he thinks she's an angel there to help him and ease his pain. And that's not true. She's just helping his drunk behind get into bed. But she's very sweet, and she doesn't think anything bad of him. And she thinks he's handsome. And then there is Xander. And her meeting with Xander is very, very odd because she is at her cousin's strip club. Remember, Alyssa owns a strip club. And she's up on the pole. She's dancing, and she's trying to, I guess, build up her own self-esteem. So she thinks she's there alone. And she's not a dancer. In fact, London has had a very tragic life. She is in her early 20s, and she's never really held a job. And she's had a very tragic accident. When she was a teenager, she got into a car accident, and she was paralyzed for a very long time. She fought, and she dragged herself up. Even when doctors said that she wouldn't walk again, she scraped and scratched and dragged herself to the top where she is at a place where she can walk again. But she has a lot of difficulties that she still faces. One of them being that, she doesn't feel the best about her body. She says that, it's unattractive. She used to be slim. She used to be a cheerleader. She's kind of, curved out. And she's dropped a lot of the weight that she gained when she was paralyzed, but she still doesn't feel like she's back at her best. She's got some very intense scarring along her back, and that comes from the accident itself and then several surgeries used to repair nerve damage and things of that nature. So she's very self-conscious about that, and she's tried to step her foot into the dating pool, but it ended badly. So she's still a virgin. She's very shy, but she wants to break off some of these shackles and, live, which is why she has come to visit her cousin Alyssa, away from her parents, away from her mother, and try and, find a life for herself. Alyssa is very concerned, and she wants her to kind of take it slow. But in her meeting Xander, London decides that this is the perfect opportunity for her to lose her virginity. Here's this hot guy who clearly thinks she's attractive, and Xander is like, okay, she's hot and she wants to screw. That's right up my alley. That's all he knows how to do. That's just something that he's exceptional at, which is really, he knows how to lay it down. Mm-hmm. And so they go upstairs to Alyssa's bedroom in the club, and she's ready to do it, but he senses her trepidation, and then he puts two and two together. And he realizes she's a virgin. And he's not ready to take on the responsibility of taking her virginity. And so he puts the brakes on things. And she feels like he puts the brakes on it because she finds him, he finds her unattractive. And he's like, look, no, I just want to know you. And he likes what he sees because she's completely different from all the other women that he finds himself involved with. She is so unartificial. No fake breasts, no fake anything, no fake hair, and she's just forthcoming. She doesn't know how to play the game of seduction, and so her innocence is very intoxicating to him. and he wants to know more, but he doesn't want to take things too far, and he definitely is not sure he's ready to take on the task of taking her virginity. So he asks her to lunch, and she gives him a telephone number, only it turns out that the number is fake. And he feels kind of bemused by that, because in his head, he's like, look, I've never been blown off by a woman ever in my life. Look at me. I'm gorgeous, and I'm rich. Women don't blow me off. But none of that matters to London, except the fact that he's gorgeous. She still is very attracted to him. And then she finds herself in Javier's presence again, going to interview for him, because since he's in Lafayette, he is there setting up an office, and he needs a secretary. And so she goes in and interviews, and he likes her. He likes her maybe a little too much. But he admires her strength, and he asks her, why have you never worked, or why, you have such little work experience. And she tells him the truth, that, she had a terrible accident. And he admires her even more for that. And so he hires her as his secretary, but he likes her. He wants her bad. And things come to a head when Xander goes to pick up his brother, who he's been told is passed out, drunk at his friend's house with his secretary. And when he goes to pick up his brother, he finds the secretary in London. And he's like, hey, you blew me off. And she's like, I just didn't think it was a good idea. And so he kind of sort of seduces her just a little bit right there. And they're kissing, and he's touching, and he kind of goes really far in terms of the fact that his brother is laying on a couch passed out while he is basically mauling and molesting this child in a corner. But she likes it, so it's not like he's taking advantage. But he definitely presses his advantage. Javier wakes up, of course. And they clash, because now we realize what this is about. 2 men, 1 woman, and she is going to tear them apart or pull them together. They already are at odds based on Javier's resentment of Xander not working and not contributing, even though he hasn't really allowed him to work and contribute, but he still resents him for not doing it. And Xander's resentment of Javier for blaming him for everything. So they're already at each other's throats, and then here comes this beautiful woman who they both want. And technically speaking, neither of them are good for her. Javier's a mess. He is grieving his dead wife. He is drinking himself into a stupor. He's not good for her. Xander is a whore of epic proportions. He has been in town 3 days and has had sex with maybe 6 women. 2 of them he woke up with, and he couldn't even remember their names. So he's just a whore of epic proportions. But it's told or explained by Luke. Luke says to Xander, why don't you just share her? That's what me and my cousin used to do. And eventually, if you're going to get bored with her, then you will get bored, and she'll still have your brother. But in the meantime, you both get to enjoy her. And he's like, look, I love her. She is a family member, so please don't tell my wife I'm telling you this, because she will kill me. But at this moment, I think that's probably the only answer that you guys have. And Xander takes him up on that. And so they share her, which I know it sounds crazy, but it works. She seems to bring them together. She seems to be able to bridge that gap between them, and they work on mastering her together. So it brings their brotherly bond back, which is insane, I know. And very unrealistic, but based in in a fictitious world, it works. But they have to work on some things with her, such as her trust issues and her body image issues. And she's got a huge issue with her back. She never wants them to touch her back, look at her back, see her back ever. And so they kind of push the issue with her to open up to them, and she bolts. Like, they have tried it on several different occasions, and every occasion she shuts down on them. And they're trying to make her understand that, look, if this is going to work between all 3 of us, we need you to be as open with us as we have been with you. and you're not being that. And despite everything, she's scared because she's been in a really terrible situation where she did open up to a guy and he basically shut down on her after he saw her back. So they're dealing with all of that, and then the brothers have to find a way to figure out how to save their company. So it's a lot going on in this book. There's corporate espionage. There is trouble between the brothers. There's trouble in this relationship. They're trying to forge a new path, and everybody has to figure out a way to find their way and make themselves integral to this little trifecta that they have. In the midst of all of that, of course, with every book that is in this series, there's danger and someone gets kidnapped. I'm not going to say who, but if you've been paying attention, then you know who. And there's a lot of work done to get that person back. At the end of the day, I don't want to ruin the whole story for you. I will say this, the ending of this book, I don't cry very often. I am not a crier. I don't, tear up very often. But it made me cry. It was very sweet. It was very beautiful. It was very endearing. And for a woman who has London's issues, especially in terms of her back and her self-esteem, it was the perfect ending. I'm not going to tell you if she chooses one or the other. I'm not going to tell you if they end up happily ever after or if it's all a big mess. But it was a really great book and a very interesting read, and it kept me captivated. It was well written. The story weaves together seamlessly into the Wicked Lovers series with the rest of the books. You see the other characters who come in to play a part and play a rescue. You have Alyssa in the background, Luke in the background, even Tyler and Jack. They all come in later on down the line. They all play a part in this. Everyone that you've gotten to know in this series, they all make little cameos here and there. So it ties in seamlessly with the rest of the series in this small town. I love how Shayla Black writes these books. And again, Ours to Love is one of my favorites in the series. I read it very often. Maybe not this particular copy because I like to keep my books, in good shape. But I have the ebook as well that I will break out on any good day. In terms of the smut factor, the heat index, I would probably give Ours to Hold probably an 8.5. I know you're thinking, wow, for a Menage series, that's kind of low, but it was very sweet in a lot of ways and hot. Like I said, Shayla Black knows how to write sex, but I felt there was more intimacy to it that took a little away from the heat index, which is not a bad thing, but I think it was very sweet for what it was. And I know you're thinking sweet and a menage, that's weird. That those things may not necessarily go together, but if you read the book, you definitely understand. As always, any representative who is out there in YouTube land and you are watching this, please pick up this series. HBO, Showtime, Cinemax, Stars, somebody, a movie. This would make a great series. I don't think it would make a really good movie because it'd be like 100 movies. So many movies. It would take away from the books. But a TV series, I absolutely think it would work. I am going to sign off because I'm done. I can't express how much I love this book, how much I love this series any more than I already have. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it and you have picked up on how much I adore this series. And you will try it for yourselves. I really don't think you will be disappointed. This is a great author. She does great work. And I can't wait to discuss with you guys the remaining books. It's not that many that are in the series. But there is a new one coming out very soon, and I am so excited for it. Like, I'm really geeked. October 6th is a new addition to the Wicked Lovers series, and I can't wait to see how it turns out. So I will be back very, very soon, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you will not have to wait another 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks to hear from me. I do apologize for the long delay, but I'm back, and I will be back with regular reviews. You guys have a great night.